Today's Kansas City Chiefs report is presented by Fetch Rewards. Earn points by scanning your receipts, which you can later redeem for gift cards by going to chatsports.com/fetch. User-friendly app that allows you to build up your points and then later turn them into rewards. Get 3,000 bonus points with promo code Chiefs when you get started. All right. I came in here, expecting to do kind of a normal show. At least that's what I thought yesterday. But as I'm starting to go to bed, I see Eric Bieniemy kind of trending on Twitter. I do a deep dive, and an article was dropped around Eric Bieniemy, some dysfunction within the Chiefs franchise from a website called the Chiefs Kingdom Editorial Board, or I should say a group. Used to be called Save Our Chiefs. They apparently have been covering the Chiefs for a while. They're not a site I normally go to, but this story has enough specific evidence and details that I think there's some truth to it, and it points to a lot of dysfunction and really a lot of things that make sense that maybe didn't make sense before. So I'm going to break this down as best as I can. 5 main takeaways, a ton of quotes from this article. I will also link the article in the description of this video if you guys want to go check it out in full detail. So go do that. Click and check that out after my breakdown. All right, takeaway number 1. Eric Bieniemy apparently has called plays since 2020. Hold on, this is new. Let's get to a couple quotes here and then some more thoughts on this one. According to the Chiefs Kingdom Editorial Board, who again wrote this article, the 2020 season featured some minor disagreements between Mahomes and Bieniemy that are at times just part of playing in the NFL. It was nothing out of the ordinary. However, the situation began to head down a slippery slope as Super Bowl 55 preparations went south. Bieniemy was interviewing for a head coaching job while the team was trying to navigate the game plan and offset their offensive line problems. If you remember, O-line injury issues late that season were massive. Mahomes and Reid, according to our source, had a good plan in place. Bieniemy didn't like it. He made several changes, and he had the power to do so in his contract because he called the plays in 2020 as he did again in 2021. This is new information to me, if it's true. That's why I'm not actually convinced this part of it is accurate. I'm not saying it's not. I don't know their sources over there. But everything we've ever heard about Eric Bieniemy and his role in the offense, major influence throughout the week, has influence in the play calling. But we've always understood that it's Andy Reid's offense and that he calls the plays and has final say. Maybe Bieniemy calls in plays here and there, suggests plays, and they run those. But it's always been understood by me, and I think most of you as well, that Andy Reid is the play caller. He is in charge. Well, this suggests something different, that Eric Bieniemy is actually the one who was calling the plays. So what do you guys think? Who has been calling the plays? Type AR for Andy Reid, type EB for Eric Bieniemy. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And a lot of these takeaways, by the way, kind of build on top of one another. They all connect, so there will be some more play calling discussion here. Number 2, tension has built up for a while. And this I do believe because start off 3-4 this year, the way things played out in the AFC title game. More on that later on in the video. Here's another quote from this article. In week 3, this is of this year, during a midweek meeting between Bieniemy and quarterback coach Mike Kafka, Patrick Mahomes, Bieniemy laid into his star quarterback for no reason. Both Kafka and Mahomes pushed back on Bieniemy. After this heated argument, which was not normal, Reid stepped in. Following the loss to the Bills, Kafka was quietly given a greater role in the planning of the Chiefs' passing game, so at this point, Bieniemy's role was adjusted, but Reid continued to let him call plays. Once the Chiefs' opening script was exhausted, that was in Bieniemy's contract. So I guess, according to them, Reid does the opening script, and then Bieniemy takes over. The reality of the situation, schemes were misaligned. Several defensive backs were not getting along with defensive backs coach Sam Madison, and the Chiefs had lingering injuries. So not only is this a Bieniemy-centric article, there was tension, dysfunction apparently throughout the team. By the way, Sam Madison, now the defensive backs coach with the Miami Dolphins, so he's no longer a part of this team. My takeaway, and this is true for everything I've read from there, it's kind of amazing that the Chiefs rallied after 3-4 to really should have gone to the Super Bowl, right? Like, and again, we'll more details on what apparently happened in the AFC Championship game later on, but the fact that this team won 10 out of 11 games and was really just a couple plays away from going to another Super Bowl, I get it. They're super talented, and talent can overtake dysfunction at times, but man, this thing really could have gone south, and it sounds like in some ways it has gone south. Here's another quote here. We have heard from multiple Chiefs staff, from the Chiefs Kingdom Editorial Board again, including some who stand on the sideline, that Reid, Mahomes, and Bieniemy have disagreed over game plans and strategy all year, being 2021, as well as far back to late 2020. The more I read, the more I hear, the more I think that Andy Reid should have hijacked and taken control of the situation. I don't know how much of this article is true. Again, full article linked in the description and comments of this video. But he's the head coach. He can step in at any time. I don't care what the contract says, where Bieniemy has autonomy to call plays. He's the head coach, and he can take over. Like, I think some of this dysfunction has to go on Andy Reid. Like, he's got to take control of the situation. It doesn't sound like he did. He kept letting Bieniemy call plays, even though there was major disagreements in game planning, etc. Not great, man. It really is not great at all. The more you break this down, and we will continue to break it down here. Who leaked these details? Let me know down in the comments section. I think it might have been Mike Kafka, who's no longer with the organization. But let me know from you guys on this one. Also, let's go ahead and tell our audience, Sam, about our sponsor, Fetch Rewards here. Shout out to Fetch Rewards for sponsoring today's show. I told you guys off the top, it's an app that allows you to earn points by scanning receipts at chatsports.com/fetch. That link allows you to download the app. And it's a really cool, user-friendly app that allows you to do several things. You can scan multiple receipts at once as well. It's not like you scan one receipt and have to wait 5 hours to scan another one and earn more points. If you get groceries, fill up gas, buy dinner all in one trip, you scan those multiple receipts all in one sitting. No big deal. You earn points, and then you can redeem those points for gift cards from awesome stores like Amazon, Target, Walmart, tons of restaurants as well. Download the app today at chatsports.com/fetch. That is chatsports.com/fetch. And use promo code Chiefs to get 3,000 bonus points after you scan your first receipt. I'm at like 6,500 points right now. I'm saving up for a big Amazon gift card. You guys can do the same. Chatsports.com/fetch. Link in the comments and in the description of this video. Okay, number 3, and I think this is probably the most important one and most significant. Bieniemy and Mahomes don't like each other. Hate might be a strong word, but it kind of seems like they hate each other based on this article, which, again, not sure how much of it is actually true, but there is a lot of specific detail that makes you think at least some of it is. Here's another quote here. The Chiefs started poorly in 2021. Mahomes struggled. Eyebrows were raised. The national media dug in, smelling blood. And then the biggest snowball of all started rolling again. The hidden feud between Bieniemy and Mahomes. Most of the guys... Oh, by the way, this quote comes from a family member of a, quote, high-profile Chiefs player that apparently whoever wrote this article from the Chiefs Kingdom Editorial Board reached out to. Quote, most of the guys tune Bieniemy out because he does one thing good coaches don't do. Ignores feedback from players. This is bad coaching 101, especially when you're coaching part of a coaching staff for a team that's won a lot and has a lot of good players. You should value their input. Like, if Patrick Mahomes makes a suggestion on the sideline between series based on what he sees, you should value that. You should take that and say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, think about the play at the end of the Bills game, right, where Kelsey goes to, there's audio of this, goes to Mahomes, be like, hey, they're playing soft. I can run up the seam, get about 20 yards. That's exactly what they did. Mahomes said, do it, Kels, do it, Kels. They did it. They force overtime. They end up winning that game. Like, that type of stuff, you bring it to your coaches, you got to take that, you got to value that information, especially with guys who are established like Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, etc., players on this Chiefs team. I don't like that at all from Bieniemy, that they don't get along. I don't like that he doesn't take stuff from his players seriously. I think that's a bad look at the end of the day. Hopefully here at the Chiefs Report, even when it's troubling news like this, you guys enjoy and appreciate what we do. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. More news, rumors, and off-season coverage. And as more details continue to unfold around Eric Bieniemy and his future, we'll certainly break that down. Subscribe. It's free. YouTube.com/ChiefsTV. Number 4, Eric Bieniemy may never be a head coach. And look, we've said for years, what's the problem? What's the problem? I've said for years, I think he deserves an opportunity. But the longer it's gone on, the more it's made me wonder, I'm sure part of some of you, well, there's got to be a reason, right? There's got to be reasons, and we've heard off-the-field stuff. He's had some, legal issues in the past. Here was another quote here. And this is some interesting stuff. There's some. The same sources have indicated to us that the reason Bieniemy doesn't have a head coaching job is because of his temperament and unwillingness to accept feedback from his players. Again, that's not a good look. This came up with the Houston Texans and the New Orleans Saints. Broncos GM George Payton asked Bieniemy point blank in his interview about a situation he saw while in Kansas City earlier this season. The answer from Bieniemy eliminated him from job contention. And what have we heard for years now? He doesn't interview well. So maybe when he gets asked these questions that are kind of difficult to address, he doesn't have good answers. Maybe he does suck at interviews. I don't know. You would think over doing 15 or 20 head coach interviews, you would learn and improve, but maybe he doesn't have good answers for critical questions that these organizations have. How are you going to be a leader as a head coach and assemble a staff? Who are some of the coaches? How would you address this situation that popped up last year? Maybe he doesn't have good answers for that stuff, and maybe that's why he hasn't been a head coach. Apparently, another piece in this article I'll just quickly mention as well, the plan after 2020 was bring Bieniemy back for one more year, so he signed a one-year contract, and then ideally he gets a head coaching job this offseason. Well, that obviously didn't happen, so now he's a free agent again, at least soon, with his contract expiring, and they got to make a decision. Will Bieniemy ever be an NFL head coach? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. I mean, I'd probably guess no at this point, man. It just doesn't seem like teams believe in him as a leader, and now that dysfunction is coming out of Kansas City, how much of it true or not, who knows, that's not going to help his cause as teams aren't looking for drama. All right, number 5, I'm just going to toot my horn a little bit. I was right about the AFC title game. I was completely right. If you tuned in for our watch party or for our post-game show, I nailed this. And this isn't, just me. I'm sure some of you guys did as well. I'll get to the quote, and I'll tell you guys what I'm talking about. The first play failed. This is talking about the end of the first half sequence. Remember, 9 seconds left and then 5 seconds left, so that's the context. Bieniemy then told Mahomes he had one timeout left. He didn't. They did not have a timeout. Let's make that clear. And to run play X or take a field goal. The narrative that Bieniemy only wanted a field goal is 100% false. Bieniemy called the play that resulted in a doomed pass to Tyreek Hill. Remember the pass in the flat? Not Andy Reid. Mahomes then tried to call timeout and the clock expired. Wouldn't have mattered. They don't have a timeout. Bieniemy and Mahomes get into it at halftime in the tunnel and in the locker room. There was the in-the-face yelling before Reid and other coaches stepped in. It happened again after the game. Any remaining confidence or trust in the relationship was broken at that point. So where was I right? I was right because I said the whole second half and in the postgame show that sequence buried them. They just could not get over it. You see these details of halftime was spent yelling at one another and this and that, and altercations having to be broken up. This clearly carried over into the second half. The second half, there was no energy. They were defeated despite having a 21-10 lead at halftime still. They should have been able to flush that, but you've got all these egos involved, and they're yelling at one another, and you screwed this up, I messed this up, why did we do this, why did you do that? And the second half was a disaster. They could not figure things out, and it clearly boiled over, in my opinion. Now, this is a fascinating sequence that apparently happened in the game as well, and I'll offer context shortly. So apparently Bieniemy called a play. Andy Reid jumped on the headset and said, no, run this. Bieniemy said, what the fuck? Mike Kafka said, guys, we're blowing this game, assuming this is in the second half. And then Mahomes, apparently this was picked up on a field mic. I haven't been able to find this clip, but apparently this was picked up on a field mic because obviously he can't talk in his headset to the coaches, but they can talk to him. He said, apparently, call the fucking play or I will. What a disaster. Unbelievable. Bieniemy calls a play. Andy Reid tries to override him. Kafka's like, guys, we're blowing it. Mahomes, just give me the damn play. This is just a nightmare for a team that, by all accounts, has, it should be a team with maturation and, just calmness, right? They've been there. They've done that. They were completely calm in the Bills game the week before, and they just fold in this one. Unbelievable how bad this has turned out. There's no way Bieniemy can return. They did say at the end of the article that Reid and Bieniemy are supposed to meet again. Apparently they already have at one point. I just how do you bring him back? Mahomes would have to sign off on that, and I don't see how he would. I think it's probably best for everyone involved just split. Let Bieniemy go, hopefully for his sake, because I still think he's been a good part of this for the most part. Things obviously over time unraveled a bit, but go call plays elsewhere. You want to be a head coach eventually, call plays elsewhere, prove you can do it with lesser talent, and maybe you'll get an opportunity. He needs to fix his image. I think Andy Reid and Mahomes need to meet and just hit the reset button here, and then they need to get a quarterbacks and a coach and an offensive line coach. Matt Nagy was mentioned in the article as someone Andy Reid likes. By the way, you want to talk about a coach who doesn't listen to players' input? It's kind of what Matt Nagy did in Chicago. So, that I'd be a little nervous about that one. But, hey, if Reid calls plays again, which apparently he gave up, I don't know if I believe that, then I guess all would be well. All right. We'll ask you guys, then we'll sign off. Will Eric Bieniemy be back next season? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I don't think there's any chance in hell he is. If he is, then wow, we're going to have to hear from him and Andy Reid at some point. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And subscribe to the channel. I know these aren't the fun stories to talk about, but we're not one of those channels that, only does videos when there's positive things to break down. We're not fair weather people here at the Chiefs Report. Good news, bad news, annoying news, exciting news, rumors, wild accusations. We're breaking it all down. I'm giving my opinions, and hopefully you guys can appreciate that. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time here on the Chiefs Report.